Hello, and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, what I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk about basically clear and unmistakable errors. And I wanted to shed some light on some of the misunderstandings about what a clear and unmistakable error is and what it is not. And not necessarily because I did talk about clear and unmistakable errors, in their generality, but I want to talk about clear and unmistakable errors from the rating perspective. So, like, what is a clear and unmistakable error in the rater's eyes? Not necessarily in the veteran's eyes, but in the rater's eyes. And I I want to just take a second here. And I'm gonna blow up my screen here. Now, I've talked about the CUNE definition beforehand, right? And you got to have three prongs to it, okay? But let me just explain something because I had a debate with someone about something, and I feel like I haven't explained this to the detail that it needs to be understood. Clear and unmistakable errors are undebatable. Now, how, you might ask, is something undebatable? In the Raiders' eyes, you know, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Not undebatable because it's not written in the M21 that 2 plus 2 equals 4. So if you are trying to use some kind of rationalization that doesn't involve the M21 manual or the 38 CFR, then you are misunderstanding what the term undebatable is referenced from. Okay. That is the full debate. Whether it is debatable or isn't debatable is debated within the M21 manual and the 38 CFR. But that's as far as we go. We don't go any farther than that because that is what the quality review system is based on. So, why is this important? And why do I have a funny thumbnail on there that says that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Like that's the whole thing, like, with that. It's kind of funny, haha. But what I get, and I'll take it a step further than that, you can lead a horse to water. You can shove their head in the water and you could kidney punch them to the point that they inhale the water, but you can't make them drink it. And some veterans are like that. And I'm not trying to be cruel or antagonistic towards the person I was debating with. I'm just trying to say that there's multiple truths here. Okay. But the one truth where we determine that something is either debatable or undebatable falls exclusively within the boundaries of the M21 manual and the 38 CFR. So if I have a section of the M21 manual that says that fatty liver is not a disability that can be service connected and granted, then guess what? Doing so is a clear and unmistakable error because it is clear and unmistakable that fatty liver is not a disability for which service connection can be granted. That is undebatable. There is no discussion here. There is no, well, what about what if? It doesn't matter because guess what? Let me give you a scenario. You have cirrhosis of the liver, right? And you also have fatty liver. And we're going to service connect you for cirrhosis of the liver. Guess what you get service connected for? Cirrhosis of the liver. Guess what you don't get service connected for? Fatty liver. Why? Because it's not a disability which can be granted. Okay. Now you'll say, oh, but it says right here, by itself, it is simply considered an abnormal lab finding. Well, it's always going to be by itself. because it's never going to be the primary. It's going to be a with fatty liver. But no rater should be granting it with fatty liver, because if there's ever a question about the primary condition, if it resolves, then all you'll have is fatty liver, and then we'll have to sever it. So there's no reason to add it ever. Okay. So I need you guys to understand this. This is clear and unmistakable. Because when you do a higher level review and you're like, well, wait a minute, the rater didn't grant me for fatty liver, the DRO's going to come right here. They're going to look at this and go, no, they followed the manual. They did the right thing. They did the right thing. Because it's clear and unmistakable. There is no mincing of words here. This is the King's English at its finest. Like, I'll give the manual one thing. Sometimes it is written horribly to where you don't know what's going on with it. I get that. This is not one of those times. It is very clear that it cannot be. There's no debating that. You can't win that. I can't win that if I granted it. If I granted that, I would have an error coming to me. If somebody did grant it for you, now this is another thing. Just because a rater did something doesn't mean that the thing that they did was right, nor does it mean that the thing that they did will hold up under any scrutiny. Okay? People screw up all the time. This is one of those times that if you come across a code sheet that has hepatic steatosis on it or fatty liver in any context, you take it off there. And if you have to sever it, then you have to sever it. You've got to go through the motions, and they will give you the 60 days to appeal it, but you have no grounds. There's no grounds to win this. You can't win this unless you come with a different diagnosis, and that's what you're going with. But I need you guys to understand this. This is me taking and revisiting this, because clearly the fact pattern for clear and unmistakable errors and what they apply to wasn't clear and unmistakable when I explained it. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I'm just saying, because this is misinformation. Telling people that they can get service connected for fatty liver is misinformation. It's written right here. It's no plainer than it can be in the human language. And if you're somebody that has fatty liver service connected, you better go hide somewhere and hope that they never look at it ever again. Because the moment that it comes across anyone's desk, they'll sever this because they don't want to get an error. They're more fearful of quality than they are of anything else. This is not, it's an abnormal lab finding on its own. And even with something else, you shouldn't include it. Okay? So we talked about fatty liver, but let's talk about abnormal lab findings. Okay? Abnormal lab findings are not themselves disabilities subject to compensation for VA purposes. This is also a misunderstanding. We get a lot of claims for this. Hyperlipidemia is one of the highest denied claims that we'll just do, because they're hard to deny because they're not a disability. So you have to deny them in such a way that you have to encourage the veteran to not do a supplemental claim on them, because they can never be granted for it. Now, can hyperlipidemia sometimes turn into high blood pressure? Maybe. Guess what we're granting? Not hyperlipidemia. We'll grant hypertension. So, and same thing with elevated blood sugar. You have elevated blood sugar. Okay. You're not going to be granted for that because it's a lab finding. There's no such animal to grant this. But if it turns into diabetes, then we will go through because then at that point in time, you have an actual diagnosis. So going back here, you would be denied because you're missing element 1. There's no disability for VA purposes. There's no disability. You would be denied on element 1 for this. You should be every day of the week. Every single day of the week, you should be denied for this, for not having element one. There's no diagnosis of a disability for VA purposes. This is harkens back to that. You know how I was talking about how you're going to get sick of me saying for VA purposes? This is it. I get fatty liver exists out in the real world, but in the VA, it doesn't exist. It can never be granted. Elevated cholesterol can never be granted. Elevated triglycerides can never be granted. And this is not all of them. This is just some of them. You know, there are certain things that can be like avitamintosis can be. That's a lab finding. But avitamintosis is also there are exceptions to this. There's a couple of exceptions. So POWs can get avitamintosis granted, but it's under very controlled situations, right? Like very controlled. But once again, if you grant this, and some new raters will because they don't know any better, right? But just because one person did a thing doesn't mean it was the right thing. And I mean, I need you guys to be open minded to this, right? Because the clear and unmistakable error, it can be in your favor too, but they granted you in a clear and unmistakable error, or they denied you in a clear and unmistakable error. Those errors go both ways. So, I'm not trying to clickbait anybody. I'm not trying to bamboozle anyone, which really freaks me out when people like want to fight me on topics because they stayed at a Holiday Inn one time. Like, I don't understand the premise of it. That's not the way this works. It's like somebody coming up to you as a veteran saying, the military salutes with their left hand. And how dare you question otherwise? It boggles my mind how some people they've been so reinforced by bad actors in the community. I'm not even going to blame the veterans at this point in time. I'm going to say that the bad actors out there have actually like sponsored this belief system that that's not the way it works. I get to make up how it works. And it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And if I'm sounding like I'm a little bit triggered, it's because I am. Because I mean, like we're in sovereign citizen realm of saying things aren't true that are true type thing. And it just weirds me out. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not being mean towards the person because they probably got some bad information from somebody that they trusted. But I'm bringing the receipts because this is fresh. Like, I don't get it, guys. But this right here, this are not themselves disabilities. There's no argument for this. No DRO will agree with you that it's a disability. They can't. They physically can't. When the manual says no to things, we have to listen. That's the rater following the policies and practices that they're supposed to. Is when it says not to do something, you can't do it. Now there might be some caveats down below, but you have to fit that caveat exactly. If you don't, I mean, this is Cinderella and the slipper thing. If you don't fit that particular you know, that particular demographic or that particular fact pattern, then guess what? If you were granted for it, it's an error and it will be taken away at some point in time. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will be. I'll take that to the bank every single time because the quality review team love that stuff because they like to find easy errors where they can just instantly go ding, gotcha. Because once they find one error, they don't have to find all errors with a claim. Because the way that their error system works is if they didn't call an error on a claim and it was like they said everything was fine and they didn't find the thing that they were supposed to find, that'll get them an error. But if they find one thing that's wrong with it, then technically they called an error on the claim. So they're fine. They won't get additional errors. Like they themselves won't get an error. So they love stuff like this and that's why it makes the raters neurotic because they have to color in the lines. And that's why you'll see veterans that go, well, wait a minute. this is like their sixth time that they're doing a supplemental claim on it. And they're like, you guys won't grant my fatty liver. Well, yeah, because we can't. And now I will also take the time to blame the raters for not fully explaining not using the long form narrative and explaining to veterans that this can't be a disability for VA purposes. It simply can't. And I think another individual said, well, what about it being claimed as an analogous rating? You misunderstand the point. You can call this, whatever you want. You could say it's asthma. I don't care. No matter how you package this, if fatty liver or hepatic steatosis gets granted under any capacity, it's going to Error Town, USA, and it is taking up shop. It's applying to be the mayor of Error Town. You're going to get an error for this. It's a no go. Like this says no go as plainly as you can humanly write it. Same thing with these. These are, even if diagnosed, if you have hyperlipidemia, it doesn't matter. And there are people that the rater fails them in the rating decision, and I get that. But guys, you have to be your own advocates. You've got to read the manual. That's the playbook. If you want to go toe to toe with the rater and the VSR, you got to be in this thing. You can't just go, well, that's not how it works. Okay. Evidenced by what? Like literally evidenced by what? Because you're not going to win that on a higher level review. This is the strengthening your higher level review video also. You have to be able to find where it says, oh, they must do this thing. Like that's what you're looking for. You're searching, like if they deny you for something, you want to go in the manual and find where they didn't do the right thing. But the rater is also looking to make sure that they're not doing the wrong thing, like such as granting for fatty liver. Now, I provided this example a few days ago where I got a quality error for not granting fatty liver. Guess what? I won that. Do you know why I won that? Because I cited this manual reference right here. And they went, oh, we didn't see that. Okay. And that frustrated me. But it frustrates me a little bit more that somebody keeps saying these things are true. The Army salute, the Navy salutes with their left hand. I mean, how upset would you be if somebody went around saying that? You'd be like, that's not true. No, don't tell me how it is. I know how it is. Left hand salutes all day long. Yeah. And that's, if you sense frustration, that's the best analogy that I can give, is somebody telling you as a veteran that you salute with your left hand and anything else is wrong. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It frustrates the heck out of me. This is just a rant video at this point in time, and I'm not picking on the person, so nobody go out and pick on the person that was, debating with me, because I don't blame them. It makes me very concerned whenever I see somebody that's so confident that, and it's not accurate, that it concerns me. It makes me think I haven't done enough. It makes me think that I have failed in my communication skills. So, and for them, you're getting a video for it. So I'm showing you how. I'm showing you why. I mean, it's not. This is it. I can't misinterpret this as a rater. I have to follow this as absolutely. There's no wiggle room here. Well, yeah, but what if you got cirrhosis of the liver? Then I'm granting for cirrhosis of the liver. I'm not granting for anything. It'd be like, hey, look, I'm diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and cocaine use. Okay, you're not getting service connected for cocaine use. You're only getting service connected for generalized anxiety disorder, and we're leaving the cocaine use off because it can't be a disability for VA purposes because it doesn't qualify. It's an illegal, it's a misconduct type situation. The same thing with these abnormal lab findings. They can't be disabilities. We can't include them. They can lead to something else. So they could be like the precursor, like how pre-diabetes is a precursor for diabetes. But guess what? You can't get granted for pre-diabetes. You have to manifest that other disability. And then we don't say you have diabetes with pre-diabetes. We say you have the thing that it manifested into. The same is similar for here, guys. So yes, circling back, you can lead a horse to water and you can shove their head in. And I don't have to be right. I welcome 1,000% to have a healthy debate. But if you come at me, you better have your facts straight. Okay. You better bring the manual and you better show me where I'm wrong. And guess what? If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Because the truth is more important to me than being right. But I don't want to spread what's wrong, like a falsehood. And this is a falsehood. You cannot, no way on earth. Nope, not happening. It's just not. And sometimes we got to clarify whenever it's a abnormal lab finding. So what should have happened, right? What should have happened is once you claimed fatty liver, you should have been, the VSR should have reached out to you on a telephone call, and they shouldn't do it by a letter, but let's say they did it by a letter. They're going to ask you what disability you're claiming for, because fatty liver isn't a disability for VA purposes. So we can't move forward with this claim. That's what should have happened. But I'm going to assume that it didn't happen. And that's the VSR at fault. So there's a lot of working parts here where I don't blame the veteran exclusively. I blame the bad actors. I blame, some people on YouTube. I blame the VSRs. I blame the raters more than I blame almost anybody else besides some of the content creators. Actually, yeah, they're not good. They just say things that aren't true. But yeah, but raters should do long form narratives all the time and explain this to veterans so they're not wasting their time doing appeals and just getting repeatedly denied. But that, guys, that's about all I got for you. So yeah, you can lead a horse to water. You can shove their head in that water, and you can kidney punch them until they inhale it and drown, but you can't force them to drink. So this is a rant. I hope that you got something from it, but it's not ideal. I'm literally just slack jawed confused at this point in time. I just am. It's like, it's weird. I'm gonna stop talking now because it's the weirdest thing. The confidence, the sheer confidence that I get from certain individuals sometimes about stuff. It blows my mind. So that's about all I got for you today. Raider out.